All right, it's Revolution 935, Miami's #1 dance music station. Jordan Sanchez with you. And of course, you know me. I've been telling you all this time that for my birthday, I'm going to AEW this weekend. Going to catch some wrestling at the James L. Knight Center. It's going down Friday for AEW Rampage and Saturday for AEW Dynamite. I'm a huge fan of wrestling, of AEW, and of this man right here. You may know him as Tommy End. You've seen him on many promotions, many wrestling events all over the world, but at AEW, you know him as Malakai Black. What's up? Welcome, man.
Thank you very much for having me. How you been?
I've been great. I am very, very happy to be with you. It's a little bit of a weird experience for me because I'm supposed to be very professional and stuff and interview you, but I'm also like coming from the point of view of a fan. So it's like really hard
Sure.
for me to balance both. But I also want to have this conversation with you. So for people that are like casual wrestling fans that are
Sure.
going out to the show and might not know what to expect. I wanted to talk about a little bit about you yourself. For me personally, I think you have the best entrance in wrestling right now. It's super
Thank you very
dark.
much.
Yeah, of course, super dark, twisted, and your persona is quite scary. So tell me about your entrance, your persona, the mask that you use, and the whole
Mhm.
Malachi Black thing.
So, in order to explain that part, I have to go back to almost the early installments of myself within the realms of professional wrestling. I'm talking, I started training in 2000. I had my first match in June 2002 in The Hague, and I've always had a knack for deeper, darker, more occult like elements, not just like in wrestling, but just like in my life. And for a very long time, I could not quite figure out who I was as a wrestler, right? The martial art was always there. The darker colors were always there. The knack towards darker stuff and alternative stuff, because obviously I'm a big fan of like alternative music, such as like hardcore, black metal, etc. Um, they were there, but they weren't represented on a foreground, more in a background kind of setting. I would have symbols on me, or I would say small things, and actually more in a natural progression, especially with being Tommy End. It started like evolving more and more and more till I finally kind of went like, well, you know what? If I want to do something and present something, I need to bring it from a part of myself that I know and love and I have an understanding of. And I've always liked symbolism, and I've always liked religion and and the other side of religion, occultism and stuff like that. So I wanted to really implement all those elements, not just on the background, but on the foreground. So back in 2008, 9-ish, when I kind of had a resurgence of and like a makeover of what I thought I needed to be, I brought those elements in completely, and I also formed a tag team with one of my childhood friends, Michael Dante, calling ourselves the Sumerian Death Squad because we had a huge interest in, the Sumerian theory of creation and the stone tablets and stuff like that, and how all of that ties into like Nibiru and like the theory that we descend from alien beings and stuff like that. And I always find that stuff fascinating. I'm like, the funny thing is I say that, but I'm actually a really sober-minded person, but I have an interest in it. I want to know why people thought that. And, so I started tying in all these things, and, more and more they just started starting to click, and more that we, created Easter eggs and make these little promos that weren't exactly promos. They were more like videos, and they were like these little like almost like horror movies that we made, because we were like, well, no one's doing this, so let's do this. And all of that, I did, and eventually was the stuff that got me noticed on World Wrestling Entertainment, and how I got brought over to NXT. Only I was always a more villainous persona, because it's more to my heart. But there, they presented me on a platform that was, more a little bit more counterintuitive for me. So that was kind of a challenge. But then switching over to back to, those early stages of Tommy End, but then presenting it as Malachi Black, I took all that information that I've obtained and all the years of experience that I've been working on for years, and I presented that now with so many bells and whistles. And I wanted to I wanted to nail it from the start. I wanted to have an aesthetic that I could control. I want to have an aesthetic that not only has a lot of hidden meanings, but is also something that for a casual individual who doesn't necessarily know all the things that I do to go, oh, wow, that's different, right? And people, coming off television, knew that my entrance was always extremely elaborate. There was a lot of like bells and whistles to it. And then I thought to myself, like, that was a production thing. And how can I, because myself, I'm a pretty minimalistic person. I don't need much. I don't have much in terms of that. I'm like, I'm when it comes to stuff like that, I have very simple interests. I like art, I like books, and I like antiques, and that's kind of the stuff, and like tattooing and stuff. And that's all. That's for a big part. That's who I am. So how can I create something that is evenly impressive and different, but then using as minimal as I possibly can? So I came up with the idea of the three lights, which is the three stages of the day. We have dawn, we have day, and we have night. So they all represent different parts of the day. So the first part is like dawn, right? When the light hits from behind. And then when I'm on the turnbuckle, it's up, it represents day. And then when I'm back down again, it represents night. And then it's, how we're about to begin. And excuse me, I liked the idea of tying in something that would come from Europe. So the mask is based on a deity, or the horned god, Kernunos or Chernunos, depending on what your pronunciation of it is. So, and that goes all the way back to the lower Celtic lands, which is, Germany, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, back around the days of like Julius Caesar, where he was worshipped. And there's actually not a lot known about him. And I just thought it was a very interesting thing, because that was a deity that was worshipped so many years ago. There's not a lot known about him. And I felt that I could use some of that aesthetic and some of that knowledge and some of the, because he sits cross-legged too, and he's got a lot of symbolism with the scythe and the snake, because he guards the underworld. He's in the twilight. So, a lot of things that I do have to do with light and dark. So I wanted to tie all that in, and I wanted to create something that was, refreshing, not necessarily new, because dark characters have been done. They've been done, but you can only do what you can do, and you can only create something within the realms of things that have already been created, but still make it refreshing, still make it you. You can still create something that people haven't seen before, despite it looking familiar, right? Because everything in the world's been invented at this point when it comes to that stuff like that. So you got to find a way to do that, but then still be you, put an element of you, your soul into it, which I did. And I presented an entire ball of information to Tony, and Tony, who is an extremely enthusiastic human being, loves wrestling, loves this business. He was just like, yeah, okay, man, let's give it a go. And he just basically let me do it. And, the conversation I had is, look, if I can't get over in 3 months, then maybe we need to reassess. But we did it in less than 4 weeks. I'd want to say even the first time we did that entrance with Cody, which was actually after the fourth week, people were like, well, what is this? It was so different and so unique. And the funny thing is, I think the entrance is what people talked over the most, which in my book is a victory, because it's the first thing people ever see of this new installment. It's the first thing that people are now going to see. And an entrance is so important, because we live in a society where like everything is aesthetically based. Like, and I unironically use the word "we live in a society," but it's the antithesis of what we do. Like the first thing we do is like we open the curtains and we see the sun, and we, it gives us a feeling, and we see your partners and it gives us a feeling. And, we think about the dreams that we had. It's something that we visualize. So we're a very, very visual species. So visuals in my book for myself as a person, but also for this, for Malakai Black, are important to him, to me, but also, to what I want to present to an audience. So, sorry, long ball of information, but that's in a very long and winded speech what caused it and what made it, and how I look at it.
Hey, that's a perfect explanation. I knew we were gonna get introspective, but I didn't think it was gonna go that deep, to be honest. But hey, awesome! I love that we get a little bit of insight into your character. And you mentioned Tony Khan, who runs the show at AEW. He's
Yes.
kind of like the new Booker on the block. And
Yeah.
when you brought him the idea, it's crazy because like he's done this with a few guys. He did this with Eddie Kingston a little bit, but the moment you came in, he put you to do a program with Cody Rhodes, who's like kind of like the
Yeah.
ace of AEW, right? So you're going in there and you're
Yeah.
off rip doing the program with the guy, one of the guys with the most eyes on it. Why do you think Tony Khan has so much trust in guys like you and bringing the other guys from the other big promotion like Bryan and CM Punk?
Sure.
Why do you think he has so much trust in those guys? And why do you think it's such a refreshing, like new environment for you and for the other guys?
I think because we've been trialed and tested and we've proven ourselves. And, you mentioned coming in immediately being involved with someone as Cody. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, that made me nervous because Cody is like, that's not a small name. That's, even take away the legacy, right? Because the Cody, the man, is more than the legacy. He is more than the legacy. He's also trialed and tested and proven himself, on every platform. So for Tony to go, hey, are you going in with him is like, okay, shit. You know what I mean? Like it's the real deal because that's Cody Rhodes. That's not just some run of the mill guy. And when I say run of the mill guy, there are no run of the mill guys in that sense. But he is Cody Rhodes.
Right.
That was a huge deal for me. So I like, he by telling me that told me, hey, I'm taking this very serious, and so should you. And obviously, I did. But the reason, like I said, we've been trialed and tested, and like for a lot of us, it's been a road for over 2 decades. And AEW is that company that now implements so many young, fresh, new faces, and I feel that with the installment of guys like myself and Punk and Cole and Bryan, and many more, even like guys like Dustin and Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, all these guys that have been trialed and tested, and backstage having guys like Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn and Mark Henry and Big Show, and like the list goes on and on. It's like the perfect blend of guys that throughout their career have always looked a different way, thought a different way, and presented themselves in a different way. So it's the perfect environment. AEW, when it comes to that stuff, the base foundation of what AEW is perfect for what it presents. It's perfect for what it wants to present to the world.
Definitely. I agree. I mean, I love it. I've been keeping track of the product since it first started before you were at the company. And when you came out, it definitely pumped me up because at NXT, you were one of my favorites. And I was so happy that they put you right in there with Cody. And I know you mentioned the tried and tested wrestlers that are involved in AEW, but you did mention something about the young guys, like the up and coming guys. And I spoke to Eddie Kingston about this. And he's like, the young guys kind of give that refreshed new take to AEW. And I'm sure that's kind of what attracted to you. But maybe I like to commit to a little kayfabe at the moment. But you're on a mission, right? At AEW, you came in, you set your eyes on Cody and the rest of the Rhodes network, right? Everybody in the Rhodes network associated to Cody. You're basically intending to end them, right? No pun intended.
I mean, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not something that I plan on doing. It's something I did.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was, everything is about proving the point. And for myself, it sometimes goes beyond proving a point. There's always multiple thoughts as to the how, the what, the why, and the when. But when it came to the Nightmare family, that's, what I came to prove, that no one's untouchable and no one is untouchable. Not anyone in that company is untouchable.
I'm so glad you went there because I did want to talk to you about the guy that you are facing in Miami. You're facing one of the young guys that I referenced, super high-flying, athletic, and I'm going to be blunt here. He has the ability to beat you in the ring. Do you think maybe being overzealous by targeting everybody in the Nightmare family may cost you something like a match against Dante in Miami?
No, I'm not worried about that. I think if anyone's overzealous, it's him. Like, sure, you can give Kenny Omega a run for his money, but that's in a situation where there's multiple people involved and people are distracted easy. I'm not saying that Kenny is someone who got distracted, but there's more room for error. And if you've already been kicked and punched and whatnot, then obviously someone who's fresher can step in and that's the nature of our business. But my point with Dante Martin, who I think is an incredibly young man, I think every person in the world from ages 15 to whenever your brain starts to decide that you either need to be more humble or accept the fact that you don't know everything, goes through the stage where you think that you know everything, right? And I think Dante, I was 20 once, and at age 20, I thought that I knew everything. At age 22, I thought I knew everything. At age 25, I thought I knew everything. And then I turned 28, and I remember that day going, I know nothing. I have no idea about the world. I know nothing. The older I get, the more the realization was that I knew nothing and the more advancements that I got in life. But I needed people also to basically put that roadblock in front of me and say, hey, look, you don't know everything. You're not as smart as you think you are. You're not as good as you think you are. And Dante, as good as he is not as good as he thinks he is yet. So I'm here to explain that to him, not just verbally, but physically. Everybody needs that one antagonist that goes, this is the line for you. And because if you understand the line in which that you are being stopped and you truly dissect the line, then you can progress yourself. But at this point, there's no one that has given him that line, that roadblock that said like, hey, right here, this is it. And I intend to give that to him. And I intend to give that to him in more than one way. And if I can't get it done one way, I'll do it the other way. Because there's always, for me, for a guy like me, there's always options. For a guy like Dante, he trusts on one thing. And I trust on 17 different things because I've been doing this for 21 years. And Dante's been doing this for, 4 or 5 years at most. And don't get me wrong, again, super talented, but he's 4 or 5 years in. Now, do I think that he doesn't stand a chance? No, I'm never that foolish. I'm never that foolish that I think that I'm unbeatable. Of course I'm beatable. But no one has yet discovered my weakness. And I can tell you one thing, he's not going to discover it. He's going to attempt to discover it, but I can tell you that he's not going to succeed. What he's going to succeed is testing me the same way I'm going to test him. But I've been tested more than him.
I just got goosebumps, man. I'm looking forward to this match. I want to see what you end up doing to Dante Martin. I'm guessing the black mass is coming, right? That's the plan. Hit him with the black mass.
That spinning heel kick has been a staple for myself for over 12 years. It's been the one technique that I have trained and perfected, and it has never failed me. Look at the match that I had with Cody. I kicked him so good with it that I almost did myself a disservice because he was out cold on the outside of the ring, right? Yeah. So again, but just to go back to the Dante Martin thing, I look at that and I learn from it and I know exactly what to do to adapt to it. So perhaps, yes, that is obviously, and he's not a stupid kid. He knows that that's what I'm going to try and do. Of course, eventually we get to the point where whether I decide we're going to do it quick or whether I decide to I wouldn't say drag it out, but because I want to test his mettle. I want to see what this kid's got. And he's not stupid, but it's the same way that I know that he's going to try and jump from the top rope. It's the same way that I know that he's going to try and outquick me because he's younger and he's more athletic than me. But I am aware of all these things, and I don't think that Martin himself is aware of all the things that I am.
So we are totally going to expect you to teach Dante Martin a lesson. And for as far as expectations for what's going to go down in Miami, let's say I'm showing this to a casual that's a wrestling fan but isn't necessarily keeping track with AEW per se. Mm-hmm. What can they expect if they're going to go to check out, an everyday wrestling show, go to James L. Knight Center and hey, I'm here for a wrestling show. What can they expect out of AEW? And
you're going to see some of the most innovative, craziest wrestling, high profile, adrenaline wrestling that you've ever seen in your life. You're going to see people that you've known from TV. You're going to see new people that you've never seen, but you're going to get an attachment to, and you're just in for a crazy show. When it comes to me, you're going to see one of the most violent people you've ever seen in wrestling.
Wow. Well, that I think there's no other way to end it besides that right there. Malakai Black, you're going to check him out because he is one of the most violent and one of the scariest individuals in all of wrestling. He is here in Miami Friday and Saturday for Rampage on Friday and AEW Dynamite on Saturday. It's a special weekend here in Miami for wrestling fans. Check it out. Malakai Black is going to be there, as well as so many more. It's all going down here in Miami at the James L. Knight Center. Malakai Black, thank you so much for taking the time and sitting down with me to talk.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Have a good one, man.